Thanksgiving coming up soon?
Apparently. I need to figure out how to deep fry a turducken before Thursday.
Oh, no. Well, good luck with that. Well, I will be there once it's cooked.
You're so helpful.
Let's go. Hello, welcome to Talk Heathen! Today is November 24th, 2019, Season 3, Episode 47. I'm Eric Murphy.
And I'm Vi La Bianca.
And we are so excited that you're here. This is the last episode before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
It is also the first episode. So 5 days ago, Talk Heathen had its 2-year anniversary.
Aw, 2.
I know, right? So all of this has happened in the last 2 years, and I've got to tell you, it's been a dream come true. This whole thing, making friends and family, and there are a lot of people here in the studio audience that I'm looking at that I come to depend on and care about, and this is my family. And I know you on the other side of that wall. I feel the same way. Sorry. Yeah, there you are.
Hi, family.
So 2-year anniversary. That's pretty freaking awesome. We have this cool thing that was sent in.
I love this one.
Right? I want to send a thank you to Han Verhoeven for sending this over to us. I dig this.
I like the horns.
I want to put this as like the background for my laptop.
Yeah.
I just want that to be a thing. Totally. V, how have you been?
I've been good. Spent the first 3 days kind of holed up in my apartment, sick as a dog. But I rejoined the land of the living on Thursday, just in time for Secular Sexuality. Actually had a pre-tape version of Secular Sexuality before this.
Yeah.
It's a quick costume change. So we will have a Thanksgiving episode of that show, but it will be pre-taped. We're talking emails, and then we also set up a voicemail box so we can get calls in when we're not on the air.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well so far.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, it kind of blew my mind when I came in. Y'all were already in here recording. And
Yep.
I thought, oh my gosh, V is going to be sitting here doing shows for...
It's running on what, like 3-4 hours now at this point?
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm stoked. I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
It was kind of an interesting week for me. I did my regular Twitch streaming. I beat Cuphead.
I heard.
I didn't break anything. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Okay.
I just downloaded the new Star Wars game, and so I'm going to start on that, which gets me really excited.
Okay.
I also was on Dave Worley's podcast or YouTube channel.
I love Dave Worley. I was on it too a couple of months ago.
Yeah, well, I feel so bad because he's just the most polite human being and sent me a message when Talk Heathen started, saying, "Hey, would you be on my channel?"
2 years ago, is this about?
Yeah. So I guess he reached out to me for episode 5, and I think I did episode 96, and so I'm eternally going to feel terrible about it. But if y'all haven't checked out Dave Worley, he's a really nice guy, and he's had some really awesome guests. I also recorded a podcast with Marie Delafont.
Yeah, Everybody's Autonomous.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a brand new podcast.
Very exciting.
The episode that I'm on is not out yet, but if you haven't checked out Everyone's Autonomous, that is a really cool show to check out. But that said, I think we should probably move into calls.
I think so.
Before we do, I just want to remind people that if you like what we're doing, you want to be able to support it, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. That's patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. 2/3 of the way through the show, we thank our top 5 patrons. I've got the Patreon here on my laptop, and I refresh it right before I make that announcement. So if you would like to have your name read on the air and thanked personally, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. With that said, I think it's time. Who do you want to talk to?
Let's start with Brandon in Arizona.
All right. Brandon, you're live with Eric and V. How are you doing?
I'm good. And yourself?
Doing good.
Pretty well. Yeah. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, today I wanted to talk about the divinity of the Bible, or the divine origins of the Bible.
Okay. How do you know whether or not something is divine? What separates a divine thing from a non-divine thing?
Well, it's there's just lots of nothing that can be explained in our physical world as to some of the things that occur in the Bible.
Okay.
Like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Journal of the Royal Statistical Society.
Hold on.
Publishes
Hold on, Brandon. Before we dive into the Journal of the Royal Historical Society or Statistical Society?
Statistical
Society?
Statistical Society.
Before we dive into that, I'm questioning your logic here. You said it can't be explained, right?
Well, this is, the statistical science.
Well, I'm just asking you, yes or no. You're going to give me something that can't be explained, and you're saying that there are things in the book that can't be explained. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why are you trying to explain it?
Well, I'm trying to prove that that God is the author of the book. That's why the Bible even says that Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith.
Sure. So it sounds like you're offering an explanation to something unexplained. So why are you saying it's unexplained in the first place?
Well, I'm saying that I don't know how anybody can explain other than something outside of our universe is the author of this book.
Is it possible that you just don't know? Is it possible you don't know? I mean, even if we granted the book was entirely true, is it possible that you just haven't found or we haven't found an answer yet? How did you rule out literally everything else?
Well, I mean, again, I think being, born again is an experience.
I was born again.
I can't.
Me too.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Pardon me?
We were both born again. We understand what that means.
I specifically identified as a born-again Christian for a significant amount of my life.
Yep.
Well, a lot of people claim that they're born again, but they don't really understand what it all means. So, I mean, the evidence that you were not born again is, I mean, you hold no stock in the Bible. You compare it to Harry Potter books.
Right. And until you can give some good reasons not to, we're going to continue to. If you have notifications going on in the background, like a cell phone, something.
Yeah.
If you could mute it, it's my ADD is terrible.
I apologize.
No worries.
You have my little tablet going off right now for some reason.
That's all good. So I would advise that you take a look at the no true Scotsman fallacy
And the God of the Gaps fallacy.
And
oh yeah, I understand. We've been over the no true Scotsman, but I mean the Bible does talk about false converts. So I mean, there is a difference between true believers and people that think they believe.
Well, Brandon,
is it possible that there's a no true Scotsman fallacy in the Bible?
Not from my perspective. So, but just to ask, are you guys by any chance familiar with what's called equidistant letter sequencing?
So I'm right now still kind of stuck because it feels like we're moving through something that I really don't want to move past yet. And so I don't want to dive back into some of these questions and then it sound like I'm not listening to you, Brandon.
Sure.
So I just kind of want to touch base on a couple of these. We've talked about fallacies. Do you understand what a fallacy is?
Sure, it's a mistake.
Not quite. It is not. It's reasoning that does not necessarily get you to truth. It's not a good tool. Right. So let's say, what's a good coincidentally true example?
Apparently, there are more people drown. The number of people who drown in a year goes up and down with the number of people the amount of ice cream eaten in a year. Okay.
So would that necessarily mean that ice cream consumption is directly tied to drowning deaths?
No, that would be a correlation versus causation.
Right.
It turns out that more ice cream and more drowning happens in the summer because you're at the beach more.
Right.
So it just seems like one might cause the other, but that would be fallacious reasoning to assume that one was caused by the other.
Right. Now, what you could do, Brandon, is you could say that eating ice cream causes drowning. And when you look at the statistics, it's going to bear out looking that way. But that's only because it's coincidentally true, not because there's a causal link. And so that's what I'm trying to bring to your attention when I talk about fallacies is I'm not saying you're wrong, therefore I'm plugging my ears. You know, what I'm saying is the reasoning you're giving is not sufficient because it cannot get you reliably to truth. And so why would I listen? So why would I like give you an example, or why would I go on to listen to your examples if they're just examples of flawed reasoning?
Well, I think it would be hard to argue with, statistical scientists, which is, statistical math is the highest form of math that we know of. These are.
Can you answer the question instead of deflecting?
What's the question again?
Why should we spend time listening to an argument that we know is not going to lead us necessarily to truth?
Well, I think you got to lay out, different pieces of evidence in order to put the entire picture together. You know what I mean? You got to have all of the pieces of puzzle to be able to see the whole picture.
I agree, but the amount of evidence doesn't necessarily change how impressive that evidence is. You can have a lot of evidence that's very flawed, and just because you have a lot of it doesn't mean that it's going to be any more convincing. So if you have these puzzle pieces, and a lot of them are based on fallacious reasoning, those puzzle pieces aren't going to help you. So basically what we're saying is, do you have anything that is not those particular puzzle pieces?
Well, I'm trying to get to it as far as,
Okay.
This is, the Royal Statistical Society.
Just so you know, I am keeping an ear out to see if you're using that flawed logic, because if you are, it means you're not listening. And what you would be doing essentially is saying, hey, I got all the statistics about ice cream sales. That way I can back up the drowning statistic. They're not, it's just bad logic. So I'm listening, but
that's not even the direction I'm going.
Cool.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, the Royal Statistical Society publishes a magazine called the Statistical Science Magazine, and in Volume 9, 1994, so that you guys can look this up yourself. It was also an article in Bible Review in October of 1995. Equidistant letter sequencing in the book of Genesis is the name of the article.
Okay, what is equidistant letter sequencing? Is that like the Bible code?
Basically, yes. It's these statisticians put together a computer program, and they ran several different books through it to find these. Basically, it's like they take a letter and then say 4 spaces or 6 spaces down the line. They take another letter. They find all of these mathematical sequences. And in the book of Genesis, when they ran it through this, and this is this is a jury-reviewed article with the Statistical Science Journal, the Royal Statistical Society. They only publish juried articles. And the jury is a bunch of mathematicians from Harvard and Princeton, and their quote is, after running the book of Genesis through this computer program, that their quote is, "The phenomena cannot be attributed to anything within the known physical universe." And these guys are all atheists and agnostics. They don't hold any stock in the Bible, but they were blown away when they found this. That when they ran this program, they found the names of people, where they were born, where they died, all the way up to the 1900s, different names of all of these people.
Sure, and
so they were
okay. So let's break this down a little bit, right? First off, a basic Google search can tell you a whole lot about the Bible code, and when you're talking about the Bible code, that is another example of Texas sharpshooter. What you're doing.
There's several Bible codes.
Yeah. And people have used that same reasoning, right? That same code to make whatever books they want say nearly whatever they want it to say. So there are examples, in 2 Chronicles 1:17, I pulled up, Kilroy was here, was used with the Bible code. Hebrews 2:17, Kennedy shot. Numbers 28:3, Bugs Bunny. Leviticus 10:7, Hello Kitty. And people have applied it outside of the Bible to other just works of fiction and have found tons and tons and tons. What that is it doesn't even rise to the occasion of, I mean, at that point, aren't you just rearranging letters to say whatever you want it to say?
It also says here, and I'm in the article, and just from a cursory look, it says that they were skipping over words and choosing other words that were more quote-unquote significant and noteworthy, I think the word is. So they were actually skipping over words and finding the ones that they wanted to look at, it looks like.
And so when
you should read the whole article,
yeah.
So that's why I mentioned where you can find it, because it's not just that. I mean, why would their quote be, the phenomena cannot be attributed to anything within the known physical universe, and these are mathematicians that are probably the most brilliant people on the planet.
Well, if they're backing up your claim, they have to be the most brilliant people on the planet, right?
I'm just curious, did you read the whole paper?
I have, yes.
And did they actually...
It made the hairs on my neck stand up.
Okay, well, how about this? What if I told you that there was a Bible code, and in it you were able to, using the same methodology, look up and see very, very famous assassinations, right? And some of these examples are Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. There we go. Soviet exile Leon Trotsky. And that is the entire word, right? It's Soviet exile Leon Trotsky. The Reverend Martin Luther King. The assassin Sirhan Sirhan. John F. Kennedy. Abraham Lincoln. Princess Diana's death is in there. Would that make the hair on your arm stand up?
I mean, I guess I'd have to check it all out, but I mean, it's
cool. That's in Moby Dick.
Let me take it one step further.
No, hold on,
guys,
Brandon. That's Moby Dick.
Okay.
So, again, this is now an example of exactly what you're saying, right? As rearranging words so that you can get it to say whatever you want it to say. When you're saying the atheist mega geniuses were all baffled, why? I mean, dude, a cursory Google search will show you all of the problems with it. I mean, I appreciate that you called in with something different to talk about. Do you remember the homework that I gave you last time?
As far as what? Investigating if whether or not time travelers fulfill prophecy, or?
To watch the episode, and because last time I said I wasn't going to be open to you calling again unless you had watched back, right, and listened to that and give it some thought. What did you think about that? Do you still think that? Do you still think that an all-knowing, all-loving, ever-present creator of the entire universe is more likely than time travel?
Well, I don't know where when you read the Bible, God isn't this all-loving. I mean, he is love itself, but
that makes no sense.
We were made in His image. He hates people too. I mean, if people that are not born again, meaning they've been cleaned by the blood of Jesus and they're a new creature now. They're not His children. They're still children of the devil.
Wait, so God hates us?
God also.
I wouldn't
Does that
say
mean God
hates you.
Well,
no, I wouldn't say.
I mean,
he hates you, but He's not. He's definitely not happy with your current state of unbelief. It's impossible to please God without faith.
That sounds pretty terrible. Brandon,
I mean,
you're throwing out a whole bunch of stuff, and it just feels like it's flying right over you. I'm saying that in the kindest way possible. God is love. What? That's like saying God is itchiness. That makes no sense.
There would, if without him, there would be no such thing as love in our.
Okay, can you demonstrate that at all? Show me that. How? Prove that with any degree of convincing. Like how? How is that the case? Does that mean that without God I can't love?
Now I feel like we're just spinning off of the topic of proving that the divinity of the Bible.
Well, so you're using the Bible code, which has absolutely been debunked, and anybody who wants to look it up can absolutely look it up. It is a significant, true waste of time, and one that I think is totally not worthy of not only our time, but Brandon, it's not worthy of your time because it's conspiracy. Hold on, Brandon. Brandon, it's conspiracy theorist bull. I mean, look it up. Do a little bit, a modicum more research.
In order to further with what research I've done, they ran the Samaritan Pentateuch, which is what all of the modern Bible translations are based off of, versus the Masoretic text, which the King James Bible is based off of. In the Samaritan Pentateuch, these codes did not exist.
What was their methodology, Brandon?
You need to read the article.
No, I mean, if you read it and you want to talk about it, how did they determine which letters of the Bible they were going to pick out? Or did they just run a computer program until it started spitting out words that were English?
No, they followed specific patterns on each of the words in the Bible, like
what pattern?
Read the article.
Every seventh letter, that kind of pattern.
Correct, stuff like that. Yes.
Yeah, and I just told you in Moby Dick, all of these different predicted assassinations. That is an example, one of many that have been given that clearly debunk that idea. The entire idea that if you pick whatever letters so that it makes, it says whatever you want. The funny thing is if you look at the letters before, this amazing thing and after, it's all nonsense all the way up until you see something that's in English. And you only pick out the wins, but you forget and you throw away the misses.
Mm-hmm.
So was Moby Dick investigated by the Royal Statistical Society?
Using the methodology that they used, they were able to come to that same conclusion with that methodology. So
who is they?
Yes.
Who is they? Who is the they that did this?
Let me see here. If you want to vamp a little, I'm gonna.
I think what we're talking about is important, and how you can come to this conclusion regardless of what book you're looking at, if you have the right patterns, or if you look for long enough, or if you only count the wins. But my question then is, okay, so even if we were to grant you that we can't explain why these numbers or these letters are showing up in the order they are, that still gets us to a God of the gaps fallacy. That still gets us to we don't know, therefore God. And that's still not enough. That's not conclusive in any way.
Well, I mean, for me, it's, he's putting his signature on a specific text. Like I said, they ran the book of Genesis with the Samaritan Pentateuch text. It didn't work.
Yeah. So
only in the Hebrew Masoretic text did this code show up. Right. They ran through hundreds of different books, maybe Harry Potter, maybe Moby Dick. The code's not there.
It is. It was pulled up. In fact, I just pulled this up. So the Bible Code was a book that was written by, was it Michael Drosnin?
I'm talking about I don't know who Michael Drosnin is.
Is the person who popularized the whole Bible Code thing, right? He famously said in 1997, "When my critics find a message about the assassination of a prime minister encrypted in Moby Dick, I'll believe them." So here's the answer:
Sure,
Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, President Rene Mao. So the names that I listed were a specific refutation in the exact example that person gave. I don't know how you can go any further, Brandon. How can you possibly deny the the holy book that is Moby Dick. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Look at the code.
Yeah, well, I'll check out this guy that did the deal on Moby Dick there. But I mean, there are several people that have written on different types of Bible code, like Ivan Panin.
Cool.
He's a major mathematician.
Did they use a different methodology?
Yeah, he has a completely different code that shows up.
Right.
And did they find different results? Or were they finding the same thing regardless of the methodology they were using?
No, he has completely different results and a completely different code than equidistant letter sequencing that the Royal Statistical Society did.
Yeah.
I just figured, these guys hold a lot of credence because these are, atheist, agnostic, total.
How do you know that?
How do you know? Yeah. How do you know the faith background of this group?
You don't need to be an atheist to be a mathematician.
Sure, no, I investigated this because I don't like to just call up with blank bullets with you guys because I know you're pretty well versed in debate.
I appreciate that.
Well, we definitely want to pull up when there's bad reasoning because we want to teach, and this is a teachable moment, and the teachable moment is Brandon.
Well,
if you use the methodology of picking every few letters, and even if it's equidistantly spaced. Eventually, just the law of averages is you're going to find patterns like that. It's going to happen, and it can be used with any book of sufficient size. And so...
Just so you know, the Royal Statistical Society said the odds of this happening are 1 in 50 quadrillion.
And yet it happened...
discovered in the book of Genesis.
Bullshit, Brandon.
That's their quote.
Yes. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're talking about those exact letters in that book... then literally any other set of letters that you're going to find has that exact same statistical likelihood. If I were to pull up a bunch of, if I were to pull up a bunch of nonsense letters that did not make a word using a similar algorithm, I can say, hey, that has the same statistical likelihood. It's only interesting if it pulls out, words that are in English. But dude, it's entirely unremarkable. It's entirely unremarkable. It's like saying, "Hey, what are the odds of you? What are the odds of you being born? If we count all of the sperm that you came out of, right?
But your
what are the
problem
odds?
is they ran the book of Genesis through with the same book in different text.
We heard you, Brandon.
Okay, well, it's the same book that they ran through, and the code's not there.
Okay, Brandon, go back. And do some more research on this. So the Bible code is something that I specifically looked into when I was coming out of religion. And it was one of the first things that I saw as truly conspiracy theorist nonsense. And even among Christians, even among born-again Christians, it's argued as something that should probably not be considered seriously in the larger circles because it is so out there and because it is so easily shown to be unremarkable and untrue. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, you can use the methodology to get those things, but the idea that somehow bolsters the idea that the Bible is this holy book, is divinely inspired, that doesn't get you there because you can do that with other books.
Right. Now, if every person who ever created a Bible code ran their own algorithm and their own methodology and they all came back regardless with the same message, then maybe I would be interested in continuing this. Right. But you can take a text, especially a very long one like the Bible, and run it through 5, 6, 100 different methodologies and algorithms, and you're going to come up with 5 or 6 or 100 different messages, which is what it sounds like has happened. Because it's random. It's
the program that these statisticians did. It doesn't work on any other book. They've done many different books. No code.
Okay. You're using
your
the same
argument
reasoning.
Doesn't stand. That's my point.
Oh, I totally understand that as long as you're using that reasoning, it's not going to make sense. What we did is highlighted various ways, going in circles around this, so that we can show you from different perspectives and different reasons that this is absolute bunk. And what you've done is gone, well, but I don't understand it because I still want to believe it. Brandon.
Nobody's debunked the royal statistics.
Yes, they have. Look it up.
I have looked it up. Show me where.
Did you look it up in order to prove it to yourself, or did you look it up to try and refute it? Because that's going to get you very different information.
I looked it up and made sure that I had all my facts straight because, I would like to help you guys actually hold some stock in this book because, you can just dismiss a whole lot of arguments for God by getting the Bible off the table.
Agreed.
Well, definitely your
Sure.
God.
If you can't use the Bible to prove God at all, then yeah, I mean, it's, now you got a major uphill battle as a believer.
Yeah.
So that's why
So Rational Wiki, if you look up the Bible code, if you go down to the references, you'll see a bunch of different links using BibleCodeWisdom.com to input their own methodologies using those statistics, and we're able to pull out whatever the heck they wanted. There are tons of people who've taken this test and have tried it and have come out with, and depending on how snarky they are, have found some really, really hilarious, things that you can make the Bible say. I'm entirely unconvinced. So
then,
yeah.
You've read the Bible before, right, Eric?
3 times.
Okay, so and you're familiar with the whole Passover festival and how Passover even started, right? Because I want to show how Moses and these guys, they had no idea what they were writing.
Okay, let's pick that up. Let's pick that up on the next call because we've spent a significant amount of time on this one so far.
And maybe do some research about Moses and his alleged authorship of certain books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the documentary, The Moses Controversy, is a real good one.
There are a whole... Brandon, thank you.
Sure, man.
Take care.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and I wonder why I do this. And then we get to talk to Brandon.
Makes it all worth it.
It does, because I don't think that Brandon, you can lead a horse to water. It doesn't mean you can make him drink.
Yeah.
But it does mean that maybe someone who is convinced by it can think about it and go, maybe I should do my own research. Maybe I should look into it.
Right.
Is it possible that if I take every 5th letter of this paragraph that I can make it say another word? And what significance should I ascribe to it? Because it's not only is it unconvincing, personally, I think that it degrades the whole thing. It just, even when I was a Christian, it just felt icky.
Yeah, and also you have to wonder, okay, well, say this was God's signature on the Bible or whatever. Everybody who did not have access to the Royal Statistical Society's results are basically fucked. So, It's still massively problematic, even if we grant literally everything Brandon was saying.
Yeah, but... there's only so much you can say before you find that it's just going in circles.
Yep.
Let's go on to, who would you like to talk to?
Let's grab Anna.
All right. Anna in Jerusalem. You're live with Eric and V. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks for putting me on.
Absolutely. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, my father is dying. He's got probably a few more days. And I'm an atheist.
Sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, Anna.
So is my partner. And my older son, he's 6. Mm-hmm. And he's very attached to his grandfather. My son is on the autistic spectrum. I guess the closest thing you could call him is Asperger, very intelligent but has some emotional problems.
Right, may not pick up on all social cues as easily.
Yeah, exactly. as it says, I'm in Jerusalem, which is a very Jewish place.
I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I have some friends out there right now, actually.
Like, everything is closed on Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
And even people who consider themselves secular, most of them would keep kosher, So atheism is almost unheard of here. Almost.
So I'd love to ask you, because my understanding was that, the practice does not necessarily mean that the faith is always held by those people practicing it. In the same way that I still celebrate Christmas. It doesn't.
Oh, absolutely, but
like there are a lot of cultural Jews, but not necessarily.
You will have some, absolutely, and
okay.
And I encourage and embrace, a lot of the ritual, and I don't want to keep those things away from my children, because I don't want them to feel like if you have no faith, then you're missing out on things. Mm-hmm. It's part of our culture and everything.
Absolutely.
But it is true that there are even religious atheists, but seriously, Jewish, not a lot of, but I know a few people who will wear a yarmulke and go to synagogue, but they no longer believe. And I give some credit to Judaism for this, because it's a religion that encourages you to explore and ask questions.
Absolutely. Actually,
so I think it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say, I entirely agree. I was talking to a rabbi that was one of the last stones that fell before I recognized myself as an atheist. It was a heartfelt, long conversation with somebody who I was asking him all these questions, and after, going through all of the things that I wanted answers to, he just looked at me and said, "It sounds like you don't believe." Okay, but I want you to prove me wrong. He's like, "Just don't believe." And I was like, "That's an option?"
Yeah.
So
that's pretty awesome.
It was a really sweet guy.
He sounds like it. I know a few people like that.
But
some Jewish, some not.
But I know we're going a little far afield. You're wanting to talk about death.
My point is that the culture is very faith-oriented. And I know that probably when my father passes, my son is going to ask me, "Where's Grandpa?" Mm-hmm. Now. And I also know that I cannot keep him from hearing from others that Grandpa's in heaven now.
Well,
and
can I ask a very ignorant question?
Sure.
So my understanding in Torah was there wasn't a lot of talk about a heaven as much as it was kind of, sleeping with your fathers until you're reawakened. Was there some? Where do we get heaven?
Well, it's actually in Hebrew. It's called Gan Eden. Mm-hmm. You may recognize it as the Garden of Eden, but it basically is thought of by many that, our ancestors are looking out for us. They're up there looking, they're guiding us, they're helping us, and they're in peace. But their consciousness does continue.
Got it.
They will physically rise when, the Messiah comes. But
sure.
Until then, they're there for us.
Got it.
And I know for me that was a comfort when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandmother died.
Yeah.
That, because I deconverted at 15.
It's not uncommon to talk to atheists who have said, I mourned twice, once as a Christian, and then again when I realized I wasn't going to get to see them again as an atheist.
Yeah.
In my personal experience, because that's the only thing I can really offer here, is that when speaking to a child about death, a lot of the cues that they take, how important is this? What gravity should I be holding this in, is very contingent on the adult giving it. And, in the same way that you watch your kid fall down and they're going to look at you to see, should I be crying right now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. If you go, they're going to cry.
Oh, yeah, they lost. Yeah, nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Game over. I've definitely seen topics like death be talked about in not a we need to sit down and talk way, but in a, oh yeah, he died. Well, what does that mean? Well, everything dies, and you can give examples and things like that. It's not a problem. If someone is trying to sell him on this idea of a heaven, that it's something that I think will probably come up over time, but you don't have to make a giant deal out of it, at least not at the start, The less gravity you give it, there's a chance, at least in my experience, that they'll go, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'll absolutely, I'll take that into consideration when I talk to him. Thank you so much. But what if he actually asks me, like, where is he,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell him, I've heard of someone who told their kids that dying is like going to sleep and not waking up, and then the kid was really, really scared to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to tell him I don't know, because
but you do know.
Yeah.
Where whatever you decide to do with, your father after he passes, if he says, well, where is he? Well, he's over there. If you decide to bury him, then you could say, well, we buried his body at the cemetery. Do you want to go visit?
Yeah.
And maybe visiting and keeping that memory alive is something that you can instill and say, it's wonderful that we got to have him in our lives, isn't it? I'm so grateful. Yeah. It's not necessarily, your son's not necessarily going to come up with this idea of a, substance dualism soul that somehow separates from a body. If he says, well, where's Grandpa? Well, you remember he died. He's at the cemetery. Let's go visit. Something like that can be good.
Yeah.
And, I don't think either of us have children, so this is...
You don't think?
I don't. I have not known you for a long time. You have not known me for a long time.
I know I don't.
I could
I'll just put that out there.
I could have all of the children. You don't know. I don't. But so take that with a grain of salt, but that, at least in my experience, is the best that I've seen.
And also, if
advice.
If he does have two parents who are atheist, I believe you said that your partner was also atheist.
Yeah.
Then there's probably going to be a lot less of that fear of death and that fear of the concept of losing somebody and not seeing them again as a frightening thing that is shocking and awful, I think is unique to groups of people who were taught that wasn't the case and then had to come up with that by themselves after they've been lied to. So if your son has not been lied to about the fact that Grandpa is going to be there again and you are going to see him again, it's not going to be as traumatic. It's not going to be as hard for him to hear because he's not going to have to rewrite that in his brain because you guys have done a good job in, I'm assuming, not telling him that.
And the only resource I can think of is Dale McGowan's Parenting Beyond Belief, which I know a lot of people have cited as a really, really awesome resource.
Grief.
I couldn't really hear you.
Oh, Dale McGowan wrote a book called Parenting Beyond Belief.
Parenting Beyond Belief.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
The website griefbeyondbelief.org might also be something you want to check out.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
And
can I steal, yeah?
Oh, go ahead.
I was wondering if I could steal 2 more minutes of your time.
Sure.
What's up?
Because we're on the subject of the afterlife, or lack thereof, I wanted to just say something about an argument that I've heard from mostly Christians, that, one good thing about Christianity and the fear of hell is that it can deter suicide. And to, just before we get to the whole, defense of the abuser, I abuse you to control you, I control you to protect you, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you guys that a few years ago, a friend of mine asked me, what do you think happens when you die? And I told her, nothing, you're just gone. And she told me, wow, you're so lucky. I asked her why. And she said, because I still think that if I kill myself, I'm going to go to hell. And that was about a week before she committed suicide.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
definitely.
Thank you.
Loss.
I just want to say that, either way, this is not a foolproof saving people from this, and also keeping them in the hell that they live in, because of a fear of a potential hell, and lying to them because you don't know anything about the afterlife is not going to help.
I actually think
one of the reasons.
Sorry?
Yeah?
I was going to say, I actually think it's a little more sadistic, because at least in the church I went to, I don't know about UV, but if you had a problem, instead of going to a licensed therapist, we went to the pastor. And that was not a skilled, educated professional.
Nope.
We were not, given cognitive behavioral therapy. We were not, tested to see if there may be any medications or anything that, we can do to make that better. Instead, we were preached at. And I think that when you offer that up, when you offer a non-solution when something is needed, it can make things so much worse.
Yeah. And you've been open about depression as well, and I really appreciate that. I also know from my experience that, the way to really help someone who's in a suicidal place is therapy, sometimes medication, and the love of support of people who love you the way you are.
Yeah. And I think you said it perfectly, because you didn't say, well, you need to come at them angry or you need to come at them sad.
Yeah.
Being there is what it's about.
Yeah.
And I entirely agree. There was something that popped up in my head that I do want to also give out before I forget it. So this was something that Jamie had brought up to me and I had checked out. And there's a Elephant and Piggy book. It's called We Are in a Book by Mo Willems.
Okay.
You should check it out.
We Are in a Book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this. There are these two characters, and they realize that they're in a book, and so one of them is really, really upset because it's going to end, and the other one is saying, "Well, we still have time. We can do all of these fun things. You know, we can party, we can enjoy the people, you know, around it. We can do all of this. And the other one, you know, is kind of contending with this, you know, because things end, I'm going to spend all of this time worrying about it. It's actually a really, really sweet book. It is a children's book. I love the illustrations. And yeah, that was something that Jamie drew my attention to that I'm never going to forget. So that might help.
Awesome, yeah. And thank Jamie for me.
That will do. Will do. All righty.
So thank you so much for your time and for everything you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Anna.
calling in.
We'll be thinking about you.
Definitely.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. That was nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a couple. Oh, my goodness. We have a lot more calls. We've got to get through some of these. Yeah. So let's see here. Who would you like to talk to? How about 5?
Yeah, let's go with 5.
Totally. We have a longtime friend of the show, Kamal in Alabama.
Oh.
Hey.
Eric and V, what's good, baby?
Hey. It's good to hear from you, man. How have you been?
I'm good, brother. I can't complain. I won't, even if I could. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of it. I don't complain about the bullshit no more. And I came to tell y'all that this will be the last time that I call y'all about this shit, man. I've decided that I got to move on with my life. I can't be worried about, you know, what people who just don't care about my non-beliefs or whatever you want to call it. They just don't care about how I feel. They don't want to take, you know, but I was told that I was hated. That I hate you for not, what was her exact words? Brother, let me tell you something. Most of the fist fights I've had in my life is because of my sister. Because you don't fuck with my sister. You pulled her and you made her cry, and I got that ass.
Oh, come on. I have one little sister. She just recently got married, but I remember I threatened one of her boyfriends when she was in high school because I was trying to be the protective older brother. And
brother, I was willing to have
dude,
I'm sorry.
I threatened him so much, he broke up with her, and I got to talk to my little sister who was furious with me because she's like, how? She was, it was bad. So I'm with you so far.
About 5 years ago, my sister had a fight with her husband, and from my wheelchair, this guy's about 200 pounds. I was ready to go to war with him. It's that simple. You put your hands on my sister, and I'm ready to do it. But somehow, I don't know what love is. When your son came to me, and when your son told me he was gay, and I knew, he came to me. When he was 5, I was raising him. When the last 4 of your children were born, I was there in the hospital when the daddy wasn't. But I don't know what love is somehow. I don't know how to love, and I don't understand it. But she told me she hates me, and I can't fucking understand that. No matter what happens, no matter what she ever did to me, I've always forgiven my sister, and she's done some cold things to me.
Yeah.
And I've always forgiven her, and I've never thrown it in her face, never. And she's done some really bold things to me. Mm-hmm. But after this last conversation, and what it was, a very cool guy, he's a police officer in the town over, he told me, Kamal, call your sister and tell her you love her, and, you know, let's just not talk about religion and that kind of stuff because it leads to bad things. And I said, okay, that's what I was going to do. And this guy's religious. You know, he's very religious. And I said, cool, I'm going to do this. I thought about it. And a few days ago, I called her. And I've been so depressed and hurt by it that no matter what I said, nothing mattered. It did not matter. The only thing that mattered was, well, I don't believe in God anymore, so you can't know what love is. Well, I'm here to tell any theist that calls you, if you feel that way about people because we don't believe the bullshit that you want us to, then no, I'm not going to say that. But if you don't believe, if we know what love is, because these people have accepted me for just me. They don't care about what I believe in and none of that shit. They love me for me, and if they can't understand that, then I don't need to be around them. I don't need to deal with them. I've made my new family. And
that's right.
Last but not least, I will be down to Austin to see you guys, and I can't wait, man.
Good.
It's like one of the best things I feel like I can do to, really get this shit off my chest and really, get past it. I'm not going to pretend like it don't hurt, because it do, man. It's I don't know how to I don't know what to do to get past it, but I'm going to do it. I've gotten past a lot worse in my life, the way I feel like, I've seen a lot of death and destruction in my life, man. And I've somehow come out with a good attitude and wanting to live my life and help others, not because of God told me to, but because it's just the right goddamn thing to do.
That's right.
And
cheers to that.
And I just wanted to let you guys know that, man, that I will not be calling you with this depressing shit anymore. And that's what it is to me. It's depressing. It hurts. And I'm going to get past it. I'm seeing my therapist, Eric, and she's a great person. She's really helped me try to put a lot of this stuff in perspective and try to understand it and the best I can. And she's an atheist, come to find out.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Yeah. Come to find out she's an atheist, man. That blew my mind. And, and I'm like, God damn, you're an atheist from Alabama? Really?
You're not the only one?
You hear about it. Yeah, that's not something you hear about, But, guys, go ahead, brother.
I just kind of want to dovetail into a couple of the things that you said. Number one, I'm really, really happy that you're seeing a therapist, because we're not therapists, but what you did say is you tied into this community, you found your family. And I know I've seen you in the Discord tons of times. We've talked, I've seen you on my Twitch stream. The times that we've interacted and the times that you're been with people, it makes me really, really happy. And,
people that I didn't even know existed, man. I never even knew that something like that existed. And just to go in and have conversation with them, and they, I just feel so accepted, and it's cool, man. It's cool. So let people know that they can find a family there for sure.
That's right. And even if it could be that they, those people in your life need exposure, and it could be that they don't get it. But what you're doing, living that positive life, being a loving person, that's an example that other people can have and look at and go, okay, well, maybe God isn't love, or you know what I mean? That there's got to be some disconnect. There's got to be some cognitive dissonance, because you can't look at it. Well, you can, but I don't see how it's possible to honestly look at a loving family and say that's not love. It boggles the mind. But I'm really happy to hear that you're taking those steps.
Really killing part is it's more than just one family member. It's like it's a lot. Somebody just would come knock on my door.
No worries.
Talking to my people.
Take care,
I'm
man.
gonna let y'all go, man. But I will talk to y'all again. Well, I will be seeing y'all soon. I'll let y'all know when.
Yes,
Sounds
please.
Good. You're getting love rings from the back and a bunch of love in the chat. Kamal,
oh, man.
Really quick, we're going to be doing a Discord Q&A after the show.
Yeah.
So if you get the chance, we'll see you in the Discord.
I will be there.
All righty, man.
Sounds
Take care.
good.
All right. Peace out, y'all.
Bye. I like talking to Kamal.
Me too. It's not depressing at all. You should continue to call.
Right?
Yeah. I'm also excited that he's going to be here.
Okay. Let's talk to, oh my gosh, Gohan in Texas. Gohan, is that your actual name?
No. It's I just stole it because it's my favorite character. But
I mean, okay.
Eric has made a decision about you already.
I have. I'm kind of a
good, bad.
I'm kind of a Piccolo man myself.
Okay,
but
so pretty much Gohan's dad.
Yeah.
I guess
or unless we're talking about like the Great Saiyaman, maybe. I'm pretty cool.
Let's not go there.
Hey! All right, now we're gonna fight. What did you want to talk about today?
Okay, so I've had some like pro-life questions, And I've gotten like a little bit of an idea of like kind of what a lot of people think about pro-life or pro-choice.
Okay.
And I just have a couple of questions that I was going to just try to like say really quickly. See if you guys could like say either yes, you agree, no, you don't agree, or
let's establish a baseline first.
Maybe you agree.
Let's make sure we're on the same page. So it says here that you're a religious scholar, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is your current standpoint on abortion?
Well, I try not to let my religion tell me anything about abortion or not, but I am pro-life. I know most Christians are. Not most. A fair amount are, but
so
that's not the reasoning for it. I try not to let that be the reasoning.
Well, I mean, you can be pro-life and also pro-abortion, right? I like living people.
Sure.
Right? I would prefer to be alive myself.
Sure.
And also...
And I understand the terms are, like, weighted. Pro-life isn't...
Yeah.
That's not saying people who are pro-choice are not pro-life. I completely understand that.
Let's zero it down to pro-abortion and anti-abortion, because that really is the topic that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I need to preface this with is you're talking to two people who are not the spokespeople for atheism, right? Atheism is specifically a religious claim.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, Christopher Hitchens was anti-abortion? Is that the term?
Yes.
Yeah, so I understand it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. So,
and I've actually picked up some secular pro-life videos on YouTube.
Okay, so you understand this is just our opinions.
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot, what do you got?
Okay, so I was telling the call screener I have 6 questions, and I was wondering if I could just like kind of say them, let you guys reply, yes, you agree, no, you don't agree, or you don't know. And then like after we go through all 6, you could defend your stances, and each question takes like 5 seconds to say.
What I'm worried about is a Gish Gallop.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that when they all get posited, we're not going to really have the time or depth to go into it. So let's...
Okay, can I cut that down to like 3?
Yeah, and let's do them one at a time. Like, give us your best, and let's go from there.
So,
that way we can interact.
Yeah.
I guess before I do the questions, do you guys have the view that life begins at fertilization or no?
No.
I think that you have to define what life is, because technically the sperm is alive before it just is by itself. So like life.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, is it alive? Yes, in the most basic biological term. Is it a full human? No.
So I was just going to say, like, I don't want to get into it too much because I do kind of want to just go along with the questions, but I was just trying to kind of get a baseline of where you guys are.
Sure.
I don't really want to offer my own opinions unless you guys ask for them.
Well,
which I don't mind giving them, but this is kind of more of like an interview, I guess.
I mean, we'll do our best as long as it's good TV. If not, it might be better to do it in the Discord.
Also, disclaimer, we are not scientists.
No.
So biology and embryology and all of those things are going to be a little bit outside.
You don't need to be a scientist to know when life begins.
Well,
so I would argue a couple things. Number one, I really don't care about, life in general. I've pulled weeds. I've squished bugs. Those things are also alive. I've got bacteria.
We kill bacteria every time we brush
all of that. So we're not talking about life. We're talking about human life.
Talking about human, right.
And then specifically when it comes to human life, I would say that someone who is brain dead, who has a working, functioning body, but a brain that is just not there, so you've got those core kind of lizard brain things still pumping the heart and the lungs, but nobody's home. They're gone. I would consider someone like that dead.
So that's kind of like more of what these questions are addressing. Not exactly is it a life or not, but like certain circumstances. So I'll start with the first one. Conjoined twins grow up. One becomes completely dependent on the other. The other one doesn't need the other twin. If the one that is not dependent wishes to be separate, thus killing the other conjoined twin, and let's say they're like 25, where would you, do you guys say that's okay, it's not okay, or you don't know?
I don't think that really comes into play when you're talking about abortion.
Yeah, it's a completely different situation.
Bodily autonomy.
Well,
that's the bodily autonomy argument.
Right, but you're talking about those twins who are assuming, we're assuming actualized human beings.
Right, who have known each other for 25 years.
And have a history, who've actually lived a life and had a childhood and made friends, and all of that good stuff. So I don't think that that's a comparison that I would even be comfortable with starting on,
And the reason you're saying that is because you don't think that the fetus, or even before that, is a human as much as a 25-year-old is a human.
Right. I think that there's potential there. And, before a child is born, you have the potential for a child. In the same way that I look at an egg and I see a potential chicken, I see an acorn and I see a potential tree.
Well, there's a difference between like an fertilized egg and an unfertilized egg, right?
Right. Okay. A fertilized
chicken.
Dude, I came from a ranch where we ate fertilized eggs.
Yeah, like people also eat those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole, I prefer the bodily autonomy argument for...
And I think this one addresses the bodily autonomy argument, because it's showing that
but it doesn't.
Bodily autonomy is not 100% like things trump bodily autonomy like someone else's life.
Well, it's a completely different scenario, though, and I wouldn't even say that someone else's life completely trumps bodily autonomy. I would also...
So then would you be okay for just this scenario? I know you're saying it's different.
No, I wouldn't be okay about it. Nobody in that situation would be okay about it. It's a terrible situation.
Not okay. Wrong choice of words. Do you think it's permissible? Because from the anti-abortion perspective, this 25-year-old life is the same life as a fetus.
No, so that's not.
That's why I know you guys are saying
that's not accurate, though.
From an anti-abortion perspective, it is.
No, it's not. It's not. Nobody in the anti-abortion movement is saying that a fetus is the same as a 25-year-old person.
I bet you we could find one.
That's true at all.
Okay, they're probably okay. Nobody. Generalization. Okay. Yes.
No. Even if I'm not trying to play the generalization. Sure. I think everybody in the anti-abortion side views a fetus the same value as a 25-year-old person.
Right, and I would say, from my personal standpoint, I don't equate those.
No, I don't know many people who do.
Well,
if any.
I guess you don't know many anti-choice people.
I'm sorry, anti-abortion people. As opposed to
anti-abortion.
Sorry, yes. Okay.
Got it.
My bad. Yes, I agree.
So, yeah, from the anti-abortion or sorry, I keep forgetting the term.
That's okay.
From that side perspective, it is comparable because a human life is a human life. But for you guys, it's not comparable because a fetus is not a human life the same as a 25-year-old person. It's not a human life. Did I summarize that fairly?
We would have to go into what we are defining as human life, because technically on a biological level, molecularly, yes, it's a human and it's alive on some level, but that's not the argument. The argument is not whether or not it's a human life, or it shouldn't be, in my opinion.
I mean, if we start going down that rabbit hole, it gets to gray really quickly. And
I don't know.
It's going to vary by person.
Again, that's my anti-abortion scientific perspective.
Well,
I understand you guys have a different perspective.
I know very few scientific perspectives that are black and white. I'm going to be honest.
And I mean,
I think science is pretty black
supposed.
and white on a couple of things, right?
I mean, so let's hold on. I think we're talking about the scientific method, which is not black and white, and proven scientific findings, which we can study.
I mean,
And so in that way, I think that there's a miscommunication here. So I'm just kind of pointing that out.
That's fair.
okay.
But that said, it feels more like we're leading down a rabbit hole that's going to take us to the trolley problem.
No. So the trolley problem, I don't mind that problem, but a lot of these questions kind of deal with situations like that kind of give us a look into how somebody views the pro-life, the abortion question.
Sure. If only the ACA had shows that had more people and more time to specifically talk about things like this.
I know.
To talk about sex. Second night.
Well, I do know that Matt wants to talk to you.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he'd like you to call back for the Atheist experience.
Um,
I heard both said that at the same time.
Also, I was trying to.
I was watching a couple of his debates with a secular. I forget her name. He had a debate with a secular pro-life lady a couple years ago, and I had a couple of questions, and that's kind of where a couple of these questions started.
Okay, so I think the point that I want to leave you with is nobody is saying that they are okay with these things. Nobody is saying that it's an easy black and white choice.
Would be a better word.
Permissible is very different than okay. And I think that a lot of people, I know you just used the word randomly, and I accept that, but a lot of anti-abortion people think that people would be just as okay killing a 25-year-old as a fetus or whatever that is. Nobody is arguing that, yeah, abortion's great. Go out and get one on your day off. Like, it is. We acknowledge that it's a hard thing to,
Abortion Access Front. It's another show on YouTube with Liz Winstead. It's Abortion Access Front, but they do like abortions and the whole Shout Your Abortion movement, and
it's a valuable piece because women and people with uteruses need to feel like they're not alone and that they aren't. And 1 in 4 people with uteruses get abortions. 1 in 4 women. That's 25% of people. So if you have 4 women in a room, one of them. Yeah. So
I've heard it like 1 in 3.
So shouting, the Shout Your Abortion movement, the talking about it, the making it culturally acceptable is important because that means that people feel less alone. That means that they can raise their voice and access healthcare and push for bills and for politicians and people who will support that kind of thing. But
discussions are always good.
Right, exactly. So that's all we're saying. Discussion. We're open to discussion.
I'm with you there.
Can I shout out a book that I would be totally excited if you read?
You can. I'm pretty far behind in books I'm supposed to read. So far.
Well, it's called The Story of Jane. Jane was a group that came together before abortion was legal in the United States that performed abortions for people who needed it. And it was told by those people who were involved there. And it gives a really interesting perspective on what things were like when ready access and available access to safe procedures like that, weren't there.
Like a lot of dangerous options. That's what they had to resort to.
And I think it's a kind of a harrowing, amazing story of some real heroes that is fun. If anybody's watching who hasn't read The Story of Jane, check it out. Also, just as a last note, being pro-choice means also supporting people's decisions to not have abortions. So if you are anti-abortion...
We're not pro-choice, right?
Well, yeah.
Anti-choice, anti-abortion or pro-abortion, not pro-choice or pro-life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you can be both anti-abortion and pro-choice. So if you personally would not get an abortion, Gohan, then you are 100. I 100% validate your choice to not get an abortion, as long as you are not restricting.
Similar to another comparison I can make, which I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with.
Gay marriage?
No, murder. Like, I'm personally against murder, but if you want to go murder, that's your choice. Or I'm personally against slavery, but if you want to own my next door neighbor, that's your choice.
You know that whole you can swing your arms around in the air all the way. You know, you have the right to swing your arms around up until the tip of my nose, right?
Right.
I think that's a pretty good little piece to live by.
Yeah, but, I agree, but I feel like that helps my argument more than yours.
I can see where you would see that, and I think that just has a whole lot to do with
I can see where you see yours as well.
Absolutely. I think if you haven't checked out the story of Jane, and this is coming from one person who owns a penis to another person, I'm assuming, owns a penis. I
don't want to get into that too much.
I think that our opinions probably don't matter as much. I think we should listen.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty sexist, but that's just me.
I think that those people who have the procedure and who are making that decision should be the ones kind of behind the wheel there. So
yeah, I mean, I could go to the same thing with slavery again, but
that's a conversation that I think
Matt would love.
Give a call. Separate. Yeah, call AXP on that one.
And I've watched Matt with the whole slavery topic, and I'm fine admitting that parts of the Bible were wrong, and I don't think slavery is good. But
yay!
That is, I'm glad we can agree on that.
Cheers. All right, Gohan, it was good talking to you, man.
Yeah, you too. And just maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. I heard there is going to be a live-action Dragon Ball movie coming up, so just
another one.
You guys know. No. That one didn't exist. That one never happened.
Thank you, Gohan. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm terrified of this, by the way. Just leave it be.
It's owned by Disney now, so it's going to be different.
Well, maybe Master Roshi won't be such a perv. Anyway, I'm going to go. Take care, man.
All right. So what do I do? Do I hang on or what?
It's going to be like
It'll
2.5
be a little bit
hours.
While,
so
call back round 4 CT.
Yep. Take it easy, man.
Round 4?
Yep.
All right. Thanks.
No problem. During that whole thing, there's so much discussion about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z in the comments.
Which was the more important of the two topics discussed, I would say.
Agreed, and these are my people. I'm home. You are my people. Yes, there are better animes out there. Don't send me emails. I know. Before we dive into the next, what?
Nothing.
There are so many better. Before we dive into the next one, I do want to thank our patrons. It's about that time. If you like what we're doing, if you want to support us, and support the efforts of the ACA and in continuing to grow and create content, you can go to patreon.com/Talk Heathen to me. That's patreon.com/Talk Heathen to me, where every episode we thank the top 5 patrons. And I'm going to do that right now. I want to thank Charlotte Crum, Desert Heathen, Bethany P., Dr. Funkenstein, and Joe. That looks like a real name, so I am not going to dox you. Instead, I'll send you a message to see if you're up for me saying your name. Joe, we still love you. Everybody who is a patron, thank you so much. It's because of that we're able to come in and volunteer our time to do this, and I love it. It's been 2 years, and here's to another 20. So definitely check that out. No, the show's not ending. We're going to go to the next call. Who would you like to talk to?
Let's see who's been waiting for a bit. Let's talk to Shane.
All right. Shane in California. You're live with Eric and V. How are you doing?
Shane
going once. Shane going twice. Shane, we're popping you back on hold. Okay. I mean, hey, Satan, in Oregon or hell?
Oh my God, I'm on.
Why Satan, though?
Well, I decided on Satan because it was something that I grew up fearing. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of turned it on my head as an alias.
Okay.
To call into shows like this. I called in to Truth Wanted once, and I made a fool of myself. Like a really ignorant fool of myself. But then I watched that episode a few times, and I was like, oh my goodness, I could do better. So, time for the topic at hand.
Dude.
Which I'm calling about the windows into my mind.
Okay, 2 things really quick before we dive in. Number 1, I totally feel you on the feeling like a fool. That's how I feel with all of the early episodes of Talk Heathen and most of the episodes of current Talk Heathen. Number 2, when you call in with the name Satan, I understand that you're kind of reclaiming that. But man, I was thinking this is a troll. It sets off the troll alarms. But once you start talking, it sounds like you're a pretty authentic dude, and I'm pretty happy to talk to you. Third, you're talking about windows into your mind. Why? Why though? I mean, it says you're an atheist, right?
Former Christian.
Okay, former Christian. Are you a believer in something? Like, religious tied atheism or deism, or what are we talking about here? Let's contextualize the conversation.
Are you hoping to find grounds on which to build the topic of windows in my mind? Like, where am I coming from with the
yeah? So if you're not wanting to talk about substance dualism and you want to say that my mind is separate from my body, then that can kind of be prefaced by saying that you follow a certain viewpoint. Or if you're trying to say that you've seen studies in science that have been better able to map brain activity, or if you had a really trippy experience where you thought somebody was reading your mind.
Oh, hold on.
Do you get what I mean?
Explain it with just this.
Sure.
Water wheel. The thing is, it wasn't really creative. But the thing, I know what a window is. I know what a mind is. And so, like water wheel, I used windows into my mind, kind of describing the function of it.
I have no idea what you're saying. I mean, what? So first off, why do I care about what's going on in your brain?
Because what I have in my brain is what I use to find my way around in the world.
Okay.
Beliefs inform actions, and it's not necessarily my brain, because I've expelled a lot of the stuff that I used to follow, but it's the minds of the people still in the religion.
Okay, so you're wanting to talk about the cognitive processes of believers. Is that about right?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Why? Do you see value in talking about why believers? Because the thing is there are so many different believers who believe things for different reasons that I'm afraid if we go down that path, we're just going to straw man somebody or straw man an entire group. And do you see how it kind of makes me feel iffy?
If we want to talk about your specific processes of thought as a believer and then now as not a believer, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see. But I really wanted to, diaries, how they're like a snapshot of your mind. Mm-hmm. You go back to it, open it up, and it's like, did I really sound so snarky in my head?
Okay.
And that's what the movies are, in my view.
Wait, which movies? What movies are we talking about?
The animated story of Moonfi and Mormons.
Okay. So
Satan, it sounds like you're hinging what you're saying on an idea that we share a knowledge of what you're talking about. Because you said the movies. but
Okay.
we don't know what the movies are. You know what I mean? So it's hard for us to
Right.
understand what you're saying.
If you're building off of an argument or a discussion you were having on Truth Wanted, it's probably best to start from the beginning with us because neither of us were on that show, so we don't know where you're coming from.
The topic that was on that show wasn't related to what I'm talking about now, and what is now isn't building upon what was said then.
Okay.
The thing is, I assume, and you're right, you guys don't have the knowledge to know what I'm talking about. And it's a bad habit that I realize that I have, that I just assume people have knowledge. And
yeah, in my life experience, that has let me down so many times.
Trouble.
Yeah. I mean, the worst is when I assume that I have knowledge. But go ahead, man.
Anyway.
Okay, so which movie are you talking about here? And why?
Animated series of the story of the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
What about it?
It definitely expounds on why the Mormon Church didn't let any black members hold the priesthood until I forgot what. I think it was 1980 something. When it was when outside pressures finally forced the church to reconsider that doctrine.
I think it was 76 or 78.
I do know the animated show you're talking about. I think I've seen clips of it.
I guess, Satan,
my concern is where are we going with this? How does this tie into your mind windows?
It might be better to do this as an email, to sit down and kind of get your thoughts out.
Yeah. And
then you can actually link us the video that you're talking about so we can have a kind of a shared understanding of what's going on. That way it's not all, stifled. That might be a better method of communication.
You're right.
For sure. But
in light of this, I'm willing to give up. I mean, it's one thing to try horribly to get an idea that hasn't been fully thought out yet. But I think I'll try again sometime later.
Yeah, send us an email and then maybe call in after we've talked on email, and then we'll have a better groundwork that we can then talk about.
Absolutely. And honestly, man, the fun of living this life is exploring. So don't ever give up, man. That's the fun part. All right. Take care, man.
You too.
Bye. Huh.
Water wheel.
Into the mind. So I charitable listening. We're doing our best, and there was a lot of charitable listening going on in there. The only thing that I can charitably say there is there are a lot of times when I thought I was entirely alone and I didn't have somebody to bounce things off of. Mm-hmm. And I wound up kind of spinning myself in circles to the point that when I finally did share it, it wasn't very coherent. And so hopefully the process of just writing things down can help out. And especially for those of you who also are trying to make sense of some of this, write it down. It helps. You can map it. You can actually, start to piece those things out.
Yeah, for sure. I am intrigued, though. Now I'm like, what is going on in his head? I want to know.
I know, right? I'm hoping.
Please actually do send that email because I will read it. I promise.
Is it bad that I'm hoping for conspiracy?
I just want to understand water wheel. It's going to be echoing in my brain all day.
Oh, sorry. I just got a note from the back saying that they're angry I hit the microphone. I'm sorry.
You're deducting it from your pay.
All the zero pay. Thank you.
Slashing that zero salary.
Michael in Florida, please save me. You're talking to Eric and V.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah, those last calls were very interesting, and I was actually going on Amazon to search for the books that you recommended because, I love reading. But yeah, so I'm a first-time caller. I've watched a little bit of the Atheist Experience, and I really find it interesting though because it's personally, I was very religious, and I would describe myself as agnostic. Because I guess for two reasons is because I've had a lot of questions about the Bible and just some things that didn't make sense to me. I'm still studying it and I'm still seeing some things that I didn't really notice before. Another reason is one that's very personal to me is the group that I was in. I was in one group for about a year. It was they would say they're Christian, but looking back on it now, it had the characteristics of, in the psychological sense, a cult. So it's been very difficult, transitioning out of that, just emotionally, and also just figuring out what to believe, figuring out what is true, because I believe that truth is objective and that we do have a way of knowing whether or not certain things are true. Even though now when somebody claims to have all the answers to questions that humanity has been tackling for millennia, I'm skeptical. Because I was in an environment where...
You're giving us a lot of things. And I know you're sharing, but in some of those things, I think we may disagree with you. I know I disagree with you on a couple of them, especially when we're talking about truth. But I kind of want to see if I can cut to the meat here. And that I think, please tell me if I'm wrong, I'm cheating by looking at the notes, that you're talking about kind of what happens to those other things that hinged on religion, all of those other thoughts about, your place in the world and, this, let's see, finding someone, you were told that there was a God that created someone perfectly for you, or... or as we were talking about in an earlier call, the idea of hell, those kinds of things. Does that kind of sum up what you were wanting to talk about?
I guess what I want to talk about specifically is how, I know it's a very broad question, but how do I continue living life after leaving religion? And more specifically, how do I find that special someone? Because I find now it's actually harder as an agnostic or an atheist to find someone to date or to marry compared to when I was a Christian.
Do you think that might be because of access to community?
I guess, well, I think that is a possibility because when I was into my religion, it was a lot of it had a component of community. And I guess maybe an issue now is finding people who are like-minded.
Yeah. Also, I would say that actually, if you look at it statistically, your job is your goal is easier to accomplish because you've weeded out quite a significant portion of the population. So the numbers of people you have to sort through is now a lot smaller. So in one perspective, you actually just made your job a whole lot easier. But also, I would say that I get it. I have many friends who are my age or younger who are moving on in that relationship escalator. They got on and they are now married. They now have children. They have a house. And it's because their culture, which is heavily inspired by their religion, told them that's what they're supposed to do. So they went and they did it. And they found somebody and they're making it work. And that's great. And I'm very happy for them. But also, it kind of feels like a cop-out in a way. If you're just told, hey, you're supposed to find someone by this age, and that other person is expecting you to come over and be a significant other, it makes it a lot easier, but it also makes it a lot more likely that you might get stuck in a situation that you don't want to be in otherwise.
Yeah. Also,
So basically, like if I could summarize what you're saying, don't be afraid to take time. Like, don't rush things, basically.
Yeah, if you're anything like me, if you used to be a Christian or used to be involved in that kind of religion, you are on that timeline. You know, you're like, oh, for me, I'm 26 and I'm not married yet. Oh, fuck. 'Cause
got to get on that.
Right. Because, on the timeline that was set for me by the culture I was raised in, I'm late. I'm behind. I'm not doing my life the way I should. And for a while there, that was very scary. But now it's very liberating to look around and be like, this is my life. And it's very different than what I expected or what I planned. But it's what I'm making it, and it's exactly where I want to be, and I'm exactly who I want to be, and I'm free to explore that, and I can take time. And maybe I'll find that special somebody, maybe I won't, but it's going to be on my timeline, and it's going to be on my terms.
Cheers to that. I mean, and just to add in, there's something really amazing when you create the purpose yourself. Mm-hmm. If it's getting dictated down from on high to you, I tend to find that the sense of personal accomplishment when meeting goals that you set for yourself, it's fantastic. The only other things that I would add in is that Tim mentioned quote that I'll probably say forever, and that is, if you're looking for a 1 in a million person, that means that there are 7,000 people exactly like that. I don't actually like the term that special someone, because really it's, instead of thinking that there's somebody out there that's handpicked for you, instead, instead of approaching someone else as their own autonomous individual that you decide to have this relationship with and build something amazing together and create this bond and these shared memories and it's an experience, and it's something that I wouldn't cheapen by saying, well, of course it was going to happen because you were made for me.
Right, you have no choice in this matter.
Right, but to look at that person, and to say, hey, I'm here because I'm choosing to be here, because you're choosing to be here. There's something amazing about it. Definitely don't discount that, because I think it adds a lot of value to relationships. Post-religion.
Yeah, you get to choose who you're with, and you get to make that relationship work.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll think about that, actually. And I know I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you have other callers, but I guess in terms of rebuilding my life and stuff, I don't know if you're too well researched onto this, but I guess what advice would you give for somebody who used to be in a cult and is trying to find a way to rebuild?
Recovering from Religion Foundation has a hotline project that you can call and talk to people who have been either in that situation or who can point you to people who are trained to help you in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other side of being entirely unspectacular. If you're 1 in a million, that means that there are 7,000 other people like you. And that also means that you're not uniquely unlovable. You're just not that special. And it's a wonderful freedom. You also aren't staging this out, and you're not the first person to experience this, which means that you have resources and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can go out and you can talk to other people about it. Into the mind. See, no, that's my ADD, Michael.
Finding a deal with the devil, huh?
Right? It's reaching out to community, because you do have access to it. If you have internet, you can hop on the Discord, where we're going to be going right after the show. You can hop on Facebook, Instagram. You can, well, not Instagram so much, Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, we've got a Twitter account.
Yeah, Reddit. I really love the Reddit.
Yeah. We've got good people over there.
Yeah, we do. That said, there are also a ton of atheist skeptics groups in Florida. So if meeting people in person is good and helpful, awesome, but you're not alone, man. You don't have to do this by yourself if you don't want to. And especially if you have those questions, having people to talk to, it helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, can't really argue against that.
So,
it's helping right now, obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of what it is, and it's pretty awesome.
And it's scary, and we get that. And
oh yeah,
I've been there.
Yeah.
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 But you find your people. If you go looking, you'll find them. They're there. You're not alone.
You're talking to two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to know.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess like one thing that really dawned on me is I guess to piggyback a little bit on what one of the previous callers said was I don't want people to love me for what I believe, but I want to have people who love me for who I am,
Kamal, you were just quoted. Yes.
There you go.
Love it. I want to see a meme.
It's our beliefs change over time,
Yeah. Yep.
That said, hopefully this helped.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
And if you want to talk more about your love life after religion, you can call on Thursdays at 7 Central.
Is there a show?
There is. It's called Secular Sexuality, and I'll be on that too. Not this week.
Oh, interesting.
It's Thanksgiving this week, but next week we have a show. My co-host is a sex therapist.
Ooh.
So we have some really good conversations about the more romantic side of things. So feel free to call into that show too.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's Thursdays at 7 Central.
Yep, live show.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Definitely.
Hopefully I'll hear from you again.
Take care, man.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
When somebody calls in for parenting advice and you don't have any kids and they want relation advice and you're single, I feel so not qualified, but it has helped me. Hopefully it'll help you.
Oh yeah, I'm just telling you all the things that people told me at this point about those issues. I'm like, okay, I've heard this works.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm really I'm anxious to hop into the Discord, to be honest.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, but man, it was so short when we were on last time.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give it some more time.
Okay.
But before we do hop over to the Discord, also there's a link to the Discord right here, right underneath. And even if you're watching this video later, that Discord is still there. It's got a bunch of cool people in it. I do want to thank those incredible people on the other side of this wall who make the show happen. Thank you so much.
Woo.
Thank you to everybody on the other side of this glass. Can't wait to meet you, shake hands with you, talk, and hang out. Oh, there we go. You want to throw up the love rings?
Sure thing.
Nice. Very nice.
I've been practicing at home. It doesn't work.
No? Damn it. To those of you who don't believe, all of the things that we just said, we're happy you're here. And, I think Kamal had a really great example, and he said it. And I know he was talking from a place of saying, I'm going to choose to live this more fulfilled life, and I'm going to choose the people that I want in it. But also, he was also talking about doing good. And I think that the way you can show that you don't have to have religion for love, you don't have to have religion for community, is by doing it, by being it. And we're doing it right now. And for those of you who do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. See you next week.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.